Okay, so my apologies for the slight glitch. I don't know. I started glitching in front of my screen. I don't know if you guys also noticed it. So I decided to restart the whole live. So yeah, today we're going to be discussing NSF emails, non-straightforward emails. If you get this email when you submit an application, how do you address it? Now, before this, there are a lot of people who have heard about these emails because they belong to groups. Please forgive me if you can hear a noise in the background. I'm working from home today and my son is trying to make an introduction, but let's just pretend that you can't hear him. So if you get, what do you do when you get this email, and can this email be avoided? So we're going to be talking about this email, how to avoid it where possible, and then what does it really mean if eventually you do get it. So the NSF email means non-straightforward. Non-straightforward. That's the acronym for NSF. So it's an email you get when your application has been submitted for a student visa. Now, this is an email that can come regardless of whether you're going to be requesting further documentation from you or not. So we're going to be talking about the two instances where this occurs. I'm so sorry about this noise. I don't know if you guys can give me a minute. Let me just get this guy off. He's really distracting. Can you go inside? Thank you. Okay, so we've treated that. So it's an email you get when you make an application, and usually this comes with a lot of panic. When people get this email, it comes with a lot of panic. So what should you do when you get this? Now, there are some people who make an application, they get an email that your application is probably going to take longer than necessary because it's not going to be straightforward, and then that's the only email you get, and at the end of the day you get your visa. For this set of people, it's just a random, I wouldn't say random, but it's just an automatic email that goes out when they predict that there's going to be a slight delay. And this is usually so when there's a rush. Like this period, a lot of people are applying for visas. There's probably a lot of applications that the visa officers are going to have to walk through. I don't think that because it's a seasonal thing, you are going to want to employ more people to attend to applications. So it's probably still the same amount of visa officers who are attending to applications on the off-peak period. That are still attending to on the off-peak period. I think there's a noise here. Give me a minute. Texted me that there's a noise here. Please let me put up the fan. So I think it's my fan that is the noise. Okay, so you get this email when there's going to be a delay. Now, sometimes it doesn't necessarily mean you're going to get a delay. So if you have paid for priority or super priority, or you have used the standard processing time, which is going to be 3 weeks for standard processing, 1 week for priority, and 1 to 2 days for super priority, you might still get your visa out within this time frame, right? But should you encounter some delay, be it a couple of days or a couple of weeks, then that email has been sent beforehand to pre-inform you that there's a possibility that your application might take longer. So for most people, this is the reason why they are getting this email, especially now that a lot of people get this email. Now, which set of people have to actually take action once they get an email like this? Now, if you fall in the second category, where you get this email, and in addition to the email, a second email follows almost immediately after or within 24-hour period, this second email is to request for further documentation from you. Now, if you fall within this category, there is no need to panic. But first of all, let me talk about what you can do to avoid this. In the first instance, there's nothing you can do. If your application is going to take longer, it's going to take longer. But the second instance, there are things you can do to avoid getting requests for additional documents. So the first thing you need to consider when you're making an application, especially if you're doing this on your own and not working with an agency such as ours that takes a look at your application in total, is to avoid complicating your application, right? So if there are documents you're supposed to provide, please provide them. One of the reasons why they request for additional documents is because some of these documents have not been included in your application. Maybe because of rush, maybe because you're not thorough. Say you miss the tuberculosis test, to upload a tuberculosis test, or your bank statement or something. They give you the opportunity to provide this. That's the fantastic thing about the study visa, is that they will give you a chance to provide or clarify certain information that you have provided. Now, also, if you have provided documents that are not legible, if you not scanned them properly, I don't know why some people take these things for granted. The least you can do is take a proper picture using maybe cam scanner on your phone. Make it look as close to a document that has been scanned using a scanner. But if you cannot do this, if you have a poor camera picture capturing skill, then take it to a cyber cafe, take it to a center, do proper document scanning. I don't think you have more than 10 to 20 documents to scan, so this shouldn't be a very big problem. But what you find is that a lot of people scan their documents and it's not legible. Imagine scanning your bank statement of 3 to 4 pages and they are not able to make out the descriptions, they are not able to make out the amount of money you have there. They cannot confirm certain information on the bank statement. That is why you would find that they send you an email to upload your financial documents, and then you start to wonder, why are they asking me for a document that I have already provided? A reason might be that it is not legible. Another reason, of course, is that they might have missed it, right? They might have missed it while they were checking or something. But if you have received the email, you have received the email. Now you're given 10 days to respond. The ideal thing is to respond within that time frame. Okay. Now, because you want to avoid delay in your application, you need to ensure that you have a checklist. All the documents you're supposed to upload, create a checklist. Either you write it on a piece of paper, or you write it on a Word document or an Excel document, and then as you upload, you check. As you upload, you check. As you upload, you check it as it has been uploaded. That is a way that you can avoid requests for additional documents. Now, there are some people who do not even know what to upload. This is also a reason for request for additional documents. So say you just got married, or you got married within the last 2 years, and your marriage has not been up to 2 years. You probably will be needing to upload certain documents to verify to the visa officer that you're genuinely married. You had carried on a relationship before the marriage occurred, so you want to put certain things to prove your marriage. Now, these are documents that are not specified, right? They are not. It's not like your transcript or your WAEC or your ALTS if you did that, or your bank statement. These are not things that you just off the head know. For other documents such as that, you have to look for things that can convince the visa officer that your marriage is genuine, such as emails or a printout of your charts, such as pictures from way back when, such as events that you attended together. If you've done trips together, for instance, you want to provide the visa stamps, that the corroborating visa stamps on both of you's passports to say, oh, we went on this trip together. So these are documents that I cannot predict for you, right? So if you have omitted those said documents, you might be requested to provide evidence of your relationship, right? So if you do not know what to upload, then you can actually get the NSF email requesting you to upload evidence, right? So these are things you can avoid if you work with an agent who knows what they are doing, such as us, because we can help you to identify the documents that can help you prove your relationship, and so that you can just avoid, spending extra 5 to 10 days seeking information that you would need to prove your relationship. So this is a way to actually avoid getting the NSF email. Also, if you have had previous rejections or visa bans, and there are certain issues that you need to address, then these are things you need to preempt. You need to think for the visa officer. They might want to request certain information from you just to clarify your previous application. So if this has not been provided beforehand, or an explanation has not been made beforehand, they might be requesting that you provide an information. So I'm going to give you one example or two examples, so you know that this is peculiar to the person's application, so it can be anything. Now, with what I'm saying today, if it doesn't apply to you, it doesn't mean that you will not be asked to provide documents that is peculiar to your own case. So this is why you need someone to review it for you beforehand. So for instance, we had a case of someone who had previous applications and had just finished serving a 10-year ban, just like a jail sentence, a 10-year ban, and the ban was as a result of discrepancy in the person's age. So they made an application initially, and they used a passport with one age, and then made a second application and they used a passport with another age, right? So they were banned. Now this ban was served for 10 years, and after the 10th year he made an application for a study visa. Now he received an email for his birth certificate. So this is not a document, right? It's not a document that ideally is requested for, but because he just wanted to verify that he is who he says he is, the age that he has currently declared in this current application is his real age. His mom and dad that he has declared on the application, that his parents are the ones appearing on his birth certificate, they just wanted to clarify, right? So this is a document that you would not have known beforehand that you would need, and then he provided that document to them. So these are the cases. These are the cases that can occur, and these are the reasons why you might be requested to provide documents. So if you have taken these actions, your the instances where they're going to be requesting further documents from you is going to be very, very limited if you've taken these precautions. But in the case that you have been requested to provide documents, do not panic. It's an opportunity for you to provide what the visa officer is going to use to make your application, right? So we get a lot of people that come to us and they are panicking. Oh, I received this email, they said I should provide this, I should provide that, and the fear is just out of this world. There is no need for that. You have been provided 10 days to get this document ready, right? So if it is a document that you need to request for, so say for instance you've been requested to provide references from previous places that you have worked. If you have not added that during your application stage, you might be getting an email requesting for evidence of where you have worked. Now, if you have not previously gotten a reference from your employer or previous employers, then you need to begin to do this, right? Or you need to bring other documents that show that you worked there. So other documents, if you don't want to go to the employer, might be maybe your employment letter, maybe evidence of salaries, your payslip, if you were provided payslip during the time of your application, during the time of your work, or a printout of your bank statement showing where your salary was being paid by that previous organization. So if you do not want to reach out to them to get a reference, there are other documents you can use to prove that you worked for that company. So just take for instance, you haven't prepared these documents beforehand because you didn't know. You have 10 days to make them available. So why panic? All you need to do is gather the documents and then send an email. So right now, I'm going to be telling you what kind of documents in our experience a lot of people have been requested, asked to provide. So I have it listed here just so that I don't forget. references, like I just mentioned. If you have not provided references, or your references does not cover the timeline between your previous study and currently. So let's say you graduated in 2010, right? So you have a 13-year break or 13-year gap, and you have provided your work reference that covers 8 years of the 13 years that you have been out of school. You might be asked to provide references covering that amount of the stretch of time that you have not provided. So it's either you were working or you were engaged in maybe further education, maybe be it a certification, an apprentice, or whatever. Or say if you're a married woman, that was the time you started your family, so you were basically raising your family at that time. So anything might have happened during that period. All you need to do is provide a cogent reason why you do not have a reference covering that period, or you provide a reference if you were indeed working. So this is a reason why people get the NSF email. You can preempt this so that you don't even get it. Cover the timeline between when you graduated and when your application is being made. Another thing is bank statement. So previously had mentioned that if you do not scan your documents appropriately, you might be asked to provide another bank statement, because you don't expect the visa officer to be using magnifying glass to make out what you have provided to them. So what you need to do is scan appropriately. Also, make sure that the bank statement is within the time frame that they have stipulated. So if it's a 28-day bank statement minimum, and also it is not more than 31 days since you printed it as at the time you're making your application. So ensure that that is accounted for. Also, you need to ensure that you don't have lump sum credits or lump sum debits in your account, because you will be asked to explain. So say you are using an account from your sponsor, say your parents, and a business person, and they have lots of transactions, but they have maintained your fees for the period of 28 days. But within that period of 28 days, they have inflows and outflows that are really huge. All you need to do, as at the time you're making your application, is to provide an explanation for those inflows and outflows, so that you avoid them asking you to provide information and explanation. But sometimes explanation is not enough. You need to also provide evidence of those transactions and what they were for. Now, this is only something that you can do if you're working with someone who has a keen eye on identifying areas that they're going to have issues with, and what documents you can provide to explain. So you want to avoid large deposits, large withdrawals, because it just raises questions and they want those questions answered. So if you want to avoid bank statements issue, please provide explanation, or avoid using a bank statement that is almost expired, or has large inflow. Also, another reason why especially as a spouse, is when you have provided a bank statement that only happens. I'm not in the scenario so that you understand. Say the main applicant has made an application prior, provided a bank statement that only covers for their OVs and performance for duration of their study. And then the spouse is making a further application and providing fees that covers for her own or his own maintenance costs. Usually they will want to be sure that, say, especially when the spouse has not traveled, or the spouse just traveled, if it is within that the early stages, they will want to verify that the funds that the spouse is showing is not money that the other spouse has transferred to them. They want to be sure that in addition to what the main applicant has provided, the spouse's money is separate, is in addition, right? So what happens here is, once you have made the application, they might then request for the spouse's bank statement. So you have your statement covers you as the spouse, it's more than enough for you to go. But they need to be sure that in your husband's account, that other money is still there, or you have to explain, if it's no longer there, you have to explain what it has been used for. So in this case, your spouse would need to provide a bank statement for the duration that the visa officer is going to specify. So usually they are going to specify a duration. So they are at liberty to ask you what duration of bank statement they require. Also, they might also ask for a backdated bank statement. So they want to say, okay, where is the source of funds coming from? So if the source of the funds is coming from a questionable place, they want to find out why is this money coming from? Where is the money coming from? Where is your spouse's money? Do you understand? So if you're making an application for your spouse and you have already gotten a visa, I usually advise people, do not do it yourself, because these things are easy. I'm going to be truthful. If you go to the UKVI website, it's easy to fill the application. You have your CAS. CAS has most of the information you're going to be provided. All you need to do is provide information, submit, pick your biometrics. You have gone to give your biometrics. But beyond that, someone is going to be looking at the application and someone is going to be benchmarking the documents that you have provided versus your application, right? So you want to ensure that you have provided all the documents that is able to convince the visa officer that you are eligible for this visa, to be given this visa. So this is why you need to have someone with a keen eye check this, because I've seen a whole lot of people who have gotten visa refusals, who have gotten visa bans just because of an omission of document that they did not know they were supposed to provide, or making an application at the wrong time when they were supposed to probably have waited. There are just lots and lots of scenarios. So in this case, you need to show as a spouse that you still have that money available to you. So if you have made further school fees payments, I'm not going to give you some secrets that we use anyways, but of course, just a little. You probably need to provide like maybe payment of your school fees, more payments, probably if there are any spends that you have done within the time frame of when you applied and when you're to resume school, or after you have resumed, that is in accordance to what the money was supposed to be allocated for, which is your maintenance fee and school fees. Then you can provide those as statements, and then provide your bank statement, explain where the money has gone if the money is no longer there, in addition to your wife's. Now, if you have made a lump sum of payment into that particular account, you also need to give a cogent reason why there is a lump sum. So lump sum is, from different places. It might be liquidation of an asset, it might be sale of a property, it might be the spouse transferring money to the other spouse to help them, it might be family members providing those monies to you to assist you in your application. What you need to do is just ensure that that money is yours and it's available to you for the purpose of going to school. So those are the reasons why they might be requesting for bank statement for you, your spouse, or even your dependent children. Also, another one that is now really popular now is proof of relationship. This was something that wasn't very popular, during previous applications, but for September 2023, it's become very popular because of the introduction of new questions that have been asked on the application for the spouses, especially for people who have less than 2 years, who have been married for less than 2 years. So you need to prove that your relationship is genuine. You need to prove that you have your marriage is real. There are some documents that have been stipulated on the application portal or on the form for you to provide, but in addition to this, you can just provide more. If you have, just provide. There's nothing like too much. If you want to show somebody that this thing is real, as many legitimate information that you have, just provide, because you want to convince the visa officer beyond reasonable doubt that this marriage is genuine, especially people whose marriages are really close to the application date. So if your marriage is very, 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 very close to the application date, you need to give more evidence to this. So if you have not provided satisfying evidence, you might be, not you as the main applicant now, the spouse might be requested to provide more documents to show. And previously, just in case you for some people that were not here, these are documents that carry maybe both your names, or these are documents that show that you guys have been in a relationship for longer than before you got married. So you might want to put evidence of charts. If you guys have properties together, you're going to provide that. You want to provide, if you've taken trips together, you want to provide visa entry and exit stamps that correlate on both passports. You want to provide pictures of events you've been to together, especially pictures that have been owned. So you boyfriend and girlfriend that's dating to marry in the future, please take pictures. Take pictures, especially when you guys are still looking really young, because that shows that the relationship has been for long. Pictures that include you with friends, pictures that include you in other environment, not just both of you all the time. That shows that you guys have been in a relationship for long. If you stay in the same apartment, you want to provide utilities that shows you both of you stay in the same apartment. If you somebody just wrote something, just I lost my train of thought. If you have like I said, properties together, so either you bought a land, you guys took a loan, you have a joint account, that's also something you can use. If you're married, you have a joint account, you can provide that as evidence of you guys being together. Say you take a loan on that joint account and you guys are working and the loan is carrying both of your names, that's also something that you can use. So things that just show that you are married. If you have enough of these and you've provided it, then you can avoid getting an NSF email requesting for more evidence. So another thing I want to say, in case you see me looking away, another thing is omitted documents or police scan. I've already talked about this. If you omit certain documents, they will request for it. That's lucky you. If you were applying for a visit visa and you omit a document, denial, right? Immediate denial. Like they deny you and they say you haven't provided this. They write an explanation letter for you, and that's it, right? But if it's a study visa, you get the opportunity to provide this document. But I say, don't even get to that point. Create a checklist. Have that checklist. Check it as you are uploading. Check to ensure that all the documents you are required to provide are provided. Then secondly, police scan. I've talked about this before, but this is under another topic. So I'm going to talk about it again. If you have scanned your documents in a very poor way, you might be requested to resend it because they just cannot verify. So some people will scan and then part of the document is missing. And if there's important information on that particular part that is missing, you're going to be asked. Some people take pictures and then half of the document is not there, right? Or you snap it and it's not clear. They can't really see the face. If it's a document that has a picture, they can't really see the face. Or you have a document that doesn't carry your name in the format that is supposed to be on your passport, and you're not provided, and you haven't provided an affidavit. So they might want to request for maybe an affidavit showing that this person is this person. So if you are Mary Jane Johnson, and then the other one is Jane Mary Johnson, or instead of M-A-R-Y Mary, you have M-E-R-Y as a Mary. So if there's discrepancy in the names, and you have your transcript, you have your WAEC, you have your certificate, you have so many official documents that are supposed to carry your name in the format that it's supposed to follow. If there is any discrepancy or omission, you should have an affidavit. Now, if this is not there, they might be requesting for such. And where this happens, all you need to do is provide an affidavit saying that you are one and the same person. So, but before then, why not provide it so that you avoid requests for further documents, right? Then, additional document peculiar to the student's application. So I said this before, I'll say it again. If you have had previous history with the UKVI, maybe a previous student visa, a previous visit visa, a previous work visa that was refused, or maybe even you got the visa, as long as you have provided information that might be different from what you're providing now, you might need to include certain documents, especially for people who were refused based on documents that they have provided before. So if you're refused or banned for a reason, please address that reason. If there is a document that needs to be shown to show that you are indeed telling the truth this time, provide that document. If not, you are still going to be asked to provide that document. You will still make it available. So why not make it available as at the time you're making your application? So I think that's all. So I think that's all. I think I just gave 6 reasons, 6 reasons why you might be requested to submit additional application. There might be more, but these are the 6 that I have decided I'm going to tell you guys today. Now, when you want to respond, because we have gotten people that after responding they still got a visa refusal, not necessarily because they did not have these documents. Some of these documents are very easy. For instance, you make an application for your child and you forget to upload the birth certificate. They will ask you for the birth certificate. All you need to do is provide, or you need to show consent from the father, and you have not included the consent letter in this application. All you need to do is provide a consent letter, and you send it. But some people still get a refusal even after responding. So how does this happen? Because they're not thorough. I don't know. Sorry that I'm saying this, I'm sounding like this, but some people are not just thorough. They take a lot of things for granted. So how can you want to respond to an email that you have been provided and you send it to a wrong email, omitting one letter from the email address? What happened to copy and paste? I don't know why sending an email for someone, most especially going for a master's, is going to be such a big thing for you. And then why don't you verify that this thing has been sent? Because if you send an email to an address that is not appropriate, then it will bounce back, ideally. So why are you not checking to ensure that this thing actually works? So we've had cases where people send the email, they reply to this email, but they've copied the email address wrongly, and it never got to the UKVI, and unfortunately they are refused based on this because they have not responded in the time frame that have been given to them. So you want to avoid this. Ensure that when you're responding, you respond with the email address that they know, which is the email address you use in making that application. For people who have multiple email addresses, such as myself, also you need to ensure that you have copied the appropriate email address, ensuring that it has indeed delivered to the UKVI. Another thing that you need to do is respond within the same time frame, right? The 10 days. If they have given you 10 days, please don't pass that 10 days, because if you have passed the 10 days, then 10 days is enough time. Is enough time for you to gather whatever documents. If it's a document that you do not have and you need to go to official channels to make, so for instance, you need to provide something like something that you need to go to the court, or you provide your NIN or something just to show something. It is not dependent on you right now. You need to go to a government parastatal, or you need to contact your previous employer. Now you're working with someone else's time. But 10 days, which is 2 full weeks, is enough time for you to be able to do this. If you're very proactive, if you're very forceful with whoever is responsible for giving you your document, you should be able to get this document and then send it in before the 10 days that have been provided elapse. So this 10 days essentially is 14 days, 2 weeks, because weekends are not included. So it's 10 official working days. So you need to ensure that you send it within the stipulated time frame, right? Now, another thing you need to do is don't panic. When you panic, you will probably not send the documents the way you're supposed to send them, and you probably not be given a second chance to rectify your mistake. So you need to ensure that you read whatever it is they have requested for you. If you do not have those documents, you need to give appropriate explanations and then provide evidences as to why those documents are not available. So this is something that I cannot really explain. It's something that we do for our clients when they have requested some documents that is peculiar to their application, right? And these documents cannot be provided. There are other documents that you may be able to provide, and then a cogent reason why the one that has been requested is not available. So they should make do with the one you have provided. And in most cases, if not all, at least based on our own experience, it works, right? What's the last thing I have here? Okay, so basically this is a funny one, but I just want to mention it. Some people panic, but other people get angry. Why they are requesting for this document from me? Have I not provided? I don't know. Sometimes Nigerians just surprise me with the kind of things that they say or they do. I've had a case of someone who, instead of providing the document that has been requested, engaged a lawyer went to the UKVI Home Office laws and blah 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 about visa applications. They now wrote a lawyer letter request asking why would the UKVI be asking me to provide this particular document. I provided it in the initial application and that should be enough, blah blah blah, quoting the laws of the UKVI. Of course, there are laws, but where there's an issue and the visa officer is not satisfied, he's within his right to request for additional documents. And if you are really a genuine student or genuine spouse or dependent, you should be able to provide enough documents to convince the visa officer that you really are eligible for this visa. So if you go and start challenging them, you are risking a denial, and that was is exactly what that person got. The person got a very big denial. So you might not be able to challenge them within this time frame. Now, what happens if you do not respond? If you do not respond to email, it's as good as you getting a denial, right? Because you have not responded to their email. So if they have requested for a document that you have provided before, you can point them to that document saying, I provided. You need to check first of all that the document is legible, properly scanned, the document covers the period or the duration that they are requested for, whatever. So if this document is there, you can respond back to them saying, oh, I have provided, maybe you omitted this particular document. What did you name the document as? That's another thing. You need to name your document very well. So if it's your financial bank statements, name it. If it's your transcripts, name it. If it's your marriage certificate, name it. So all the documents that you have, name it appropriately. So what you now need to do is refer them back to that document, quoting the name, saying, I have already provided this answer on this document. Or if you just want to be double sure, you can rescan that document and attach it to the email and then you send. So that is how to address NSF emails when you get them. So for people that are just coming, that we're not here during the first 5-10 minutes of this live, I said there are two types of NSF emails. That's non-straightforward application that you get. The first one, you cannot help it. Anybody or everybody can get it, and this is as a result of the timing that we're working with. So there's a rush period, and this is a peak period for applications, September, because schools are resuming, and they are preempting or predicting that your application might take longer. So that mail goes out just to let you know that this application might take longer. So even if you pay for priority or super priority, we are using the standard processing time, your application might not come out within the time frame that you have predicted, because they have a lot of work to go through. Now, if you have received that for the first set, you really can't do anything about it. It will be ignored once you get it. However, there is the second set where once you have gotten that email, another email comes in almost immediately or within a 24-hour time frame. What you need to do is, if you receive the first one, always go to your spam or other parts of your email to ensure that you have not received another email, because if you have received an email and you do not see it and you do not provide the documents, it's a refusal. So ensure that if you receive the first one, go and check and be checking to ensure that you have not received another email requesting that you provide the document. So for the second email, I have mentioned all the documents that they might be requesting for, and I have mentioned what to do beforehand so that you don't risk getting that email, because what happens is that it makes your application longer. So if your application was supposed to come out in 3 weeks, it might now come out in 3 weeks and a couple of days, or even 4 weeks. So if you did priority and it's supposed to come out in 1 week, you might now get it in 2 weeks, because they had to pause your application, put it on another pile, waiting for you to respond. And imagine if the document you need to provide takes you 5 days to get. So that's an additional 5 days that your application was paused. Do you understand? So it is good that you avoid the NSF that is going to request for further documentation by working with someone who can do a keen eye on your application and provide all documents at the get-go, at the initial stage. So now I'm going to open up for questions. Sorry, I had a lot of glitch during the beginning. I don't even understand with my baby and then my fan and then everything. So we did not start on time. So now I'm going to be giving about 15 to 20 minutes for questions, and I can see that we have some questions that I'm going to be responding to now. So I'm just going to scroll up. So regards to visa applications and non-straightforward application. So Samuel Ebrimoni says, Rose looking sweet as usual. Thank you. Good afternoon, ma. Please, I actually want to ask a question. Please go ahead. This is Bed Floral Fabric Store. Please go ahead. It's question time. This is Fritz Tarnia. Okay. Hello. What are people that have been asked for an online interview? Okay. So yes, you can actually be asked for an interview with the NSF. I did not mention that because we are basically talking about documents, but yes, you can be asked for an online interview, you can be asked for a physical interview, and this is where a document provided is not enough to satisfy the visa officer, right? And in the cases that I have witnessed myself, these are interviews that border around new married couples. So if your marriage is new, they might want to ask certain questions about your marriage, especially if you and your spouse have applied together. You might both be invited and interviewed at separate rooms, right? So your questions have to be matching. So it might be online or it might be physical at the British Embassy, either in Lagos or in Abuja. So that happens. Also, it might be related to previous or past applications. So one that I have personally noticed was someone who previous refusal mandated a current interview. So they just wanted to be sure that he was a genuine student and not just using the study route to go to the UK because he had been refused visa, I think 2 times prior. So he was interviewed based on how suitable was he for his degree, what was it, why was he studying now, after so many years that he has graduated, how is he going to pay for his degree, what job is waiting for him when he comes back, so they just wanted to be sure, and that basically is to ensure you're a genuine student. So there is a clause there that they will only give visa to people who are genuinely going to study. And if the visa officer is doubting your intent for whatever reason, you might be interviewed, and that interview in most cases, regardless of whether they're interviewing you because of marriage or because of previous refusal or because of a document provided, let's say previous ban or whatever, they are going to ask you almost the same set of questions. But when it comes to the questions that they are very particular about, they might now ask you more about that. So regardless of why they are calling you, they are going to be asking you about why you want to study, why did you choose the UK, why did you choose that school, just like your precast, those precast questions you prepared for if you're going to a school that required a precast interview. Those are the questions they're going to be asking you. Then in addition to that, if you have previous applications, they'll be asking you about the previous applications. If you're married, they'll be asking you about your spouse, and so on and so forth. So if you've been invited for an interview, be it online or offline, I would suggest that you contact us so that we can prep you. So these are interviews that normally happen and they follow a particular method. These methods are something that you can prepare for, and then focusing mainly on the things that we suspect is the reason why you have been invited, just to ensure that you have suitable answers for the visa officer. So that's the answer to that question. So thank you for bringing that into this conversation. I forgot to mention it at the beginning of this presentation. So what a POF is in the student's account and not in the sponsor. So if the POF is in the student account, they will still ask you for a backdated statement if this POF is not in addition to what you have provided. So let's say, for instance, your POF you need for your own application is 15 million, right? And you have provided 15 million and you have made your visa application for your wife. Now, for yourself. Now you want to apply for your wife, say 1 month down the line, and you're providing that same bank statement showing 6 million, and the 6 million, or let's say 7 million now for your wife, and 7 million is for your wife. They will ask you for a backdated because they want to know, is this out of that 15 million that you provided earlier, that you're still providing another 6 million? They want to know that you have enough money for yourself and for your wife. So whether it's in your wife's account or it's in your account. You just need to show that this money is in addition to what I showed earlier. It is not it is not part of the money I've shown, but in addition. So it's either you are still maintaining your own proof of funds, in addition you add your wife's own, or you provide evidence to show that this money that you had before, you have used it for the purpose of your school. So let's say you paid more school fees, right? Or you've done certain things. You can minus that from your account. In addition, show your wife's own, and then the visa will be approved. But you need to show that money, the money for your own the money for your own maintenance and fees has not been tampered with. You need to show that. So, but this is a case where you might be risking request for backdated statements. So they might ask you to provide statements from 3 months prior, or 2 months prior, or even 6 months prior, depending on when you are making the application, and then you need to show it for that long. So if there's been large inflows and outflows and all, you now need to start explaining all those inflows and outflows. So this is why work with an agent like us who can help you prevent that from even happening in the first place. Does a lien on a bank account affect the visa decision? Yes. Now, if there's a lien on the money, is the money available to you? Now, the money has to be unencumbered, right? It needs to be available to you. So if, for instance, you need to pay for your fees, say you need to make up 50%, you paid maybe 25%, you need to make it 50%, you should be able to withdraw that money and make payment. You should be able to use the money to do a down payment for an apartment before you come into school. You need to have that money available to you. So when there is something holding on to that money, then yes, it's going to affect your visa decision. They need to be sure that money is readily available to you. So please, there shouldn't be any kind of lien on the account. I beg you. Do we have more questions? I'm just going to scroll back. Okay, so I don't have any more questions above. I'm just going to wait for a couple more minutes for people who want to ask questions, and then maybe just look through my notes to see if there's anything I have omitted while I was talking. Okay, so now for these are questions that we get, so let me just clarify this now. When you're paying for super priority, which is going to take 24 hours to 48 hours depending, or you're paying for priority, which is supposed to take 5 working days, which is 1 week essentially, it is not foolproof. It is not a guarantee that your visa is going to come out within that time frame, right? So when you're making this commitment, when you're making the money available to pay for this service, keep it at the back of your mind that you might not get your visa within this time frame. And this is why it is important that you ensure your application is done well to avoid anything that will enable to avoid anything that will make the visa officer request for more documents. And if you were in this live previously, you would have listened, or you can also listen when we repost this later. You need to avoid it. So if you're making more commitments, you're paying £250, which is almost 300,000 or 300 and something thousand now, in addition to your visa fee. Or you're making the super price, which is 900 and something pounds, which is over £1 million now. Don't allow simple bank statement or simple proof of relationship to be the reason why you don't get the service that you have paid for, right? There are some that you cannot do without, right? If it's going to take longer and it sent you an NSF mail that it's take longer, it might take maybe, instead of 1 to 2 days for super priority, it might now take maybe 1 week, but it's still within that time frame. But if you get an NSF that you require another additional document, you can pay for super priority and your application will end up taking 2 to 3 weeks. So at the end of the day, your over 1 million is wasted. You just paid it for nothing's sake, because the same time frame it would have taken you on a standard application is the same time frame that you have spent Likewise for priority as well. So it is essential that if you're going to be making for that commitment, that whatever is going to delay your application should be as a result of the UK embassy's internal workings. So that is something that is beyond your control. It shouldn't be within your own control, where you haven't provided enough documents to convince the visa officer that you are eligible to get your visa application, be it the main applicant or the spouse or children dependent. So please provide all documents. All right, so I don't have any more questions. I think I'm going to end the live now. Thank you so much, guys, for coming. It's been wonderful talking to you, and thank you for the questions that you have asked. I think those are questions that help to address certain things that I forgot or I did not think to also address. If you want to listen to this live again, you can have this live in our we'll be posting it on our YouTube, also be posting it on this Instagram channel, so you can always watch it at a later date. But most importantly, when you're applying for your visa, we actually help with visa applications. Even if you haven't made your application on your behalf, come to us and we can help you do a very thorough visa application. Also, if you have documents as in addition to the one that you have, you can also reach out to us or can help you to put the documents together and respond to the UKVI in a way that will ensure that your visa is going to come out. So thank you, and do have a wonderful day. Oh, okay, sorry, somebody just typed a question. While doing my POS from the bank, a lien was placed and I already did my biometric. Well, I don't know if this is showing in your bank account, then you're risking a refusal. So what can happen is, when you're making an application, you can always send an email. It's not foolproof, it's not 100%, but if you have an additional document that you have not provided initially, you can send an email and maybe continue and then call. You can do the £3 or £2 call to let them know that you provided a document that you feel will not pass the check, and then you have provided the correct documents now. So if you can do that, please do that. Don't wait for them to deny you, because if there's a lien on that money, that means the money is not available to you. That's just so at this point it will be fingers crossed, right? It should be fingers crossed. But if there's something you can do about it, if you can get another bank statement that shows that the money is available to you, you can send it to the email. You can make call as much as possible to ensure that they disregard the other bank statement and use the new one that you have provided. So that is something that, for me, will be proactive rather than wait for them to respond to you or react to whatever it is that they are going to do. So how much is your service charge for the process? So please just reach out to us. It's quite affordable. You can send us a DM, or Hadi by God 05 will probably send you a DM, and then we can let you know what the service charge is. And if it's a family application, if you're applying for yourself, your spouse, and your kids, then we also do for that discount. So that's not what I want to be discussing, how that works. But if you reach out to us, we'll give you all the information that you require. So thank you. So Olufemi, maybe reach out to us. I would like to see the bank statement. So I wouldn't want to just give you the answer as if I'm the visa officer. So I don't know what it shows on your bank statement. So maybe if I see how it has been written, I'll probably be able to give further advice. So, but based on what you have told me, that's what I am saying. But look at your document, it might be showing something different. So if you want, go to our DM, rather our link in the bio, click on speak to a visa rep or something. Just click on the one that says you want to speak to someone in the visa department, and you'll be reaching me. Show me your bank statement, and then I'll let you know if it's something that you shouldn't be worried about, or if it's something that you want to put in additional efforts just to ensure that everything goes smoothly. Do you understand? So I wouldn't want to make a 100% guess using the information that you have just provided to me. Okay, so I don't see any more questions. So thank you. So I think I've already said my goodbyes before. So this time around it's just gonna be goodbye until we see you next week. I hope you have a wonderful week. Bye guys.